I'm Rachael Smiley, the 2026 TMA Global Chair and a restructuring attorney at FBFK Law in Dallas, Texas. And I am so pleased to be joined by Matthew English, Senior Managing Director at Arch & Beam in San Francisco, California, and a former TMA Global Chair and great mentor of mine. So glad to see you here again at the Distressed Investing Conference. It's always a great time for all of us to get to know each other.
TMA has meant so much to me personally as well as to my firm, to do our jobs. It requires so many different people across different disciplines and across the industry. And TMA brings together all those people in one location, especially at the TMA Distressed Investing Conference.
What specifically would you want the attendees of this conference and the restructuring industry writ large to know about what you and what Arch & Beam specifically bring to an engagement?
Arch & Beam, we are a turnaround restructuring and bankruptcy firm, which means that we advise clients going through challenging transitions. I would say that what Arch & Beam has really made a mark for itself in is our ability to get into both mid and late stage distress situations and be very creative in working with everyone from the ownership to the management team, obviously the other stakeholders such as the lenders and creditors, and to come up with the best solution. And admittedly, sometimes it is the best of the worst solutions, but we really pride ourselves in not being someone who has only one tool in our toolbox. We can do everything from operational turnarounds to balance sheet restructurings. We certainly do bankruptcies, but we also get involved in assignments for the benefit of creditors, receiverships. We're acted as liquidating trustees. And so we really can come to the table with a whole myriad of possible solutions. And that really is beneficial and invaluable to our clients.
I heard you talk about coming and working with management, particularly in late stage distress situations. I'm sure you work in a variety of industries. Are there challenges that you see management having in those situations across industries? And what would some of those be?
So often, management has been through tough times before. This isn't their first business cycle where they're having trouble. But what happens oftentimes is that for whatever reason, this business cycle is different. And the tools that they may have used in the past just aren't working this time. And often that means that they do bring us in too late. As most of us know, the one thing we'd all love to have is more time and have been brought in earlier. But what I would say is what we're seeing with a lot of people right now fundamentally is the whole interest rate environment. That dynamic has obviously changed substantially. And then, of course, with all the new technologies, artificial intelligence and other things coming in, there's a lot of unknowns in the marketplace. So I would say the biggest challenge is there's almost too much information for these management teams to make decisions. And so sometimes they get almost frozen. And what we can do a lot of times is come in and be that catalyst to unfreeze them, to say, look, we just have to do something. And we're very good at coming in and helping them prioritize, make quick decisions, and get things moving when otherwise they might have been kind of stalled or slowed down.
As far as making those quick decisions and really being able to hone in on how you can best assist a client, has TMA been able to provide you with any tools, either educationally or in terms of connections you've made to assist you with that task when you work with management?
Sure, I'll give a great example. As you know, we've done a lot of international travel along with TMA. And there will be cases where we'll have cross-border issues. We'll have a division that's in a foreign country, in Germany or the UK. Paul Davies, as an example, who was the TMA president in the UK chapter. There was a situation where I needed someone in the UK to help me with one of our legal entities, one of my clients. I got a call into Paul. He and his team jumped on it within 24 hours. And quite frankly, it made me look really good in front of my client. Like, wow, Arch & Beam, you have this global reach. And you're able, and that came, of course, just through my TMA relationships.
I'm curious, because you work with so many different industries in these late stage restructurings, if you're seeing anything thematic with respect to the current economic environment that's impacting the majority or many of your clients.
I'll give a very specific, because we're from California, obviously, so we certainly get involved in one of the largest economies in the world, but certainly an economy that has a lot in agriculture, as an example. And one of the biggest challenges in agriculture right now is that there was very inexpensive money for many, many years. And people have been able to build up these very, very large real estate portfolios of farming and other assets and processing. And what's happened over the last 3 years has quite frankly been, as we know, the interest rate environment has shifted dramatically, but at the same time, there's been new competition coming in from other markets, certainly global markets, which has caused us in many cases to have almost negative gross margin in businesses where suddenly their interest cost has doubled. We see that across a lot of industries right now, where the rules that worked when you were having very inexpensive money now doesn't always work. And so we always talk from the turnaround and the TMA methodology about, is there a viable core business? Does this business deserve to exist? And unfortunately, there are some businesses now that in this new interest rate environment maybe can't exist because they can't generate enough EBITDA. So we're seeing that certainly it's showing up in a lot of the agriculture space right now, but we see it, our team works across manufacturing and construction and mortgage industry. And so what we're seeing very much is the change in the interest rates, the change in how the various institutions who both invest and also lend money to these organizations are changing their profile of what they're looking for. And it is creating a cycle, and there's a whole shift of how capital is moving right now in the marketplace, which is creating both some challenges, but for those of us in the turnaround restructuring space, certainly some opportunities.
Matthew, it has been such a pleasure to talk with you today. You have been a great inspiration to me as a former TMA chair. I always appreciate the opportunity to catch up with you, and I hope to see you at future TMA events.
Thank you.